Welcome to episode number 270 with one of my dearest friends and a mentor that I look up to so much, my friend Justin Prince. Let's talk about your business, strategy, and the juicy details of what actually works, from mainstream fashion to fashion on Main Street, and the entire ecosystem behind it. How do we scale your company and do it with the balance and the happiness that we all seek? Let's hear from those insiders, experts, and strategists that actually make it happen. I'm your host, Ashley Alderson from the Boutique Hub, and I can't wait to chat. So you guys know I am a huge believer in attending business events and conferences and always trying to fill your cup so that you can fill others, right? So one of the great ways I like to do this, and Eric likes to join me on these trips, is attending personal development or business development type conferences. One of the mentors we look up to so much is my friend Brendon Burchard. In fact, we enjoyed Brendan's training so much that we joined Brendan's mastermind last year. And anytime you're a part of a training program like that or you attend events like that, the opportunity isn't just in what you learn at the event and the content that you take down in your notebook, but it's the people that you meet along the way that are driven and like-minded and can help you hold yourself accountable to the goals, dreams, and creations you want to make after the event is over. And it just so happens that just about 2 years ago now, I met my dear friend Justin Prince at a Brendon Burchard event as Eric and I were simply walking down the hallway and struck up conversation. And since then, we've attended a number of mastermind events together. He's spoken at the Boutique Summit. Today he's joining us on the podcast. He's also been inside of Retail Bootcamp. This guy is someone I look up to so much. I mean, he has a story and an insight and a piece of information on just about every question I have when it comes to mindset and business and social media and just being an overall great human being. In fact, when the pandemic first broke out in 2020, Justin and I got on a call together just to chat. And just to have an open conversation about, man, how are you doing? Like, how's your business doing? How are you handling this? How are you looking at some of these things that are happening right now? And how can we continue to help people move forward? So I will forever be grateful to the insight that I have gained from being friends with Justin and the opportunity just to have a real conversation with someone who I feel like truly gets it in the world today. So I couldn't be more excited than to bring you this really fun, candid conversation between Justin and I today on the podcast. I think you are going to learn so much from him. And I know that if you were in attendance at our last Boutique Summit in Atlanta, so our 2019 Boutique Summit, and got to see Justin speak in person, you were totally blown away because every review that we got from the Boutique Summit that year raved about how awesome it was to experience his talk, his keynote in person. So real treat today, you guys. I hope you love it. Please do me a favor and do Justin a favor. When you listen to the show today, take a screenshot, take a picture, take down, one piece of advice, one note, one takeaway, and tag us on social media. Tag us on Instagram at AJ Alderson or Boutique Hub Business, and also Justin Prince, because he's always dropping the bombs on his social media, and I know he would love to hear from you on what you learned today, as I would like to do the same. I would love to hear what you learned today. So let us know how it's going. Shoot us a message if you have any questions, and take lots of notes. Today is full of wisdom. Enjoy. Hey guys, I'm so excited to have one of my dear friends and an absolute mentor to me as well. Someone I just think is awesome all the time on social media. I love learning from. Meet Justin Prince. Justin, thanks for being on the show.
Ashley, you're so sweet. I'm honored to be here. You and Eric are two of my favorite people. So thanks so much for the invite, and I'm excited to be able to share with your people.
Oh man, so if anyone's listening that was at the Boutique Summit last year, you joined us as a keynote speaker, and hands down in all of our reviews, I don't even know if I've told you this yet, but you were hands down one of the favorites. Like, so many good takeaways and all the good feels from your keynote. So thank you for that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I always tell these guys, whether it's going to a conference or a meetup or boutique owners travel to market, right? The opportunity to meet people, I think, is just as important as like the takeaways that we have. It's the networking that really matters. And as I think about our relationship, you and I and Eric met totally by accident. I think in a hallway is kind of how it happened. We were at a Brendon Burchard event, and we're both in Brendan's mastermind together, and like literally bumped into each other in the hallway and hit it off immediately. And I'm so thankful for that. Like, it's amazing how those relationships come out of the blue.
That was what that, I believe in what I call divine rendezvous. Like, it's like the right people are connected at the right time for the right reasons. And I met you guys. It was so interesting. Like instantly, I was just like, these are my people, dude. And
Yeah.
so we've just kind of built that friendship ever since. And I completely agree. By the way, I'll share this with you about your events. And when you look at like how Europe and Asia and the world was originally all connected, like the original trade routes that built the world. So this is back when they were trading rugs and herbs and spices and just the original trade routes that ultimately created the world. It wasn't the goods and services that were traded that created the world. So in other words, it wasn't the rugs, it wasn't the herbs, it wasn't the spices. What it was the ideas at the exchange points. The ideas that were exchanged at the exchange points where people would actually meet and get together, those ideas are what created the whole world. And that's the reason the work that you do, like getting people together, it's not necessarily what you heard from stage necessarily, although that stuff's all great. It's the exchange points, it's the hallways, it's the dinners, the lunches. It's literally you and I meeting in the hallway. It's all those exchange points that make those entire trips worthwhile.
Oh man, that's so interesting to know. And I totally see how that works. My parents always said, Ashley, it's not what you know, but it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same thing. Like that's the most exciting part about this life and the world that we live in today is the opportunity to meet people, not only at events, but I mean, on social media and just like all the 7 degrees from Kevin Bacon that we can become connected to people and learn from one another.
So right now I'm studying a guy named Tillman Fertitta. And my guess is a lot of people don't know who that is. I didn't even know who he was until a few weeks ago, but I like to study, like I've studied Elon Musk and I've studied Jeff Bezos. Like I'll study people because I think that you can be mentored by them or learn from them, even though you've never met them. So Tillman Fertitta today owns a humongous restaurant chain. He actually bought the Houston Rockets for $2.2 billion. He's the 100% owner of the Rockets, but he started literally in network marketing, selling vitamins. When he was 20 years old, he won the Cadillac selling vitamins. Then he started a restaurant, owned one restaurant, and then he just like became the best at all these little areas of his life. Ultimately owned multiple restaurants. He owns casinos, the whole thing. And what I've loved about studying him for the last probably 2 or 3 weeks is I love how he's helped me to think bigger. There's that great book called The Magic of Thinking Big. And you can sum up the entire book in 7 words, which is you are what you think you are. And so although I've never met this guy and maybe never will, I've never met Tillman Fertitta. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, as I've kind of like dived deep on just him and his life and who he is and what he's all about, I actually have thought bigger. Like it's challenged my brain to think bigger. Like I feel inspired by the guy and I've never met him. And that's the power of these connections on social. Like that's the power of what you're doing with people that have never even met you, like with your podcast, with your events, with your social, with your stories, with your life. You're inspiring and leading people that have never met you to think bigger, to dream bigger, to be bolder. And that is the power of connecting with really positive people on social.
Man, you do something so well in this regard. I feel like from the moment I met you and going forward, you're very adamant about serving before anything else. So you're always like, hey, Ashley, like, what could I do for you? How could I help you? How could I do this thing? And I think about this interesting thing happened to me the other day where I was on a podcast with someone that I look up to a ton. And I was kind of intimidated by it. But I kept going back to this idea of like, Russell Brunson talks about having a dream 100, like having this list of people who you are inspired by and who motivate you and who you want to collaborate with or learn from or have them be your mentor. But the answer is always no unless you ask, right? But he says, in order to get on their radar, like you show up and ask, how can I serve you? And I admire that you do that so well. Do you think that people are just like intimidated to ask to show up on someone's radar? Like they just put people up on a pedestal and they feel like, they aren't at the same level, so they can't even be in that person's space? Or what's the best way to connect with those types of inspiring mentors and leaders?
So I think the best way to connect is it's really what you're leading with, which is how can I add value to you? And you might say to yourself, I can't are you kidding me? Add value to them? Like what? There's a guy online, Gary V, right? Gary Vaynerchuk. His video guy was like some kid that was just like, yo, I love your stuff. Can I be your video guy for free? Like, can I just like
Mhm.
follow you around, show you how good I am, and just be your guy? I'll do a ton of free videos. The kid went there and just like followed him around and started being his video guy. Now he's since paid him. Well, think how valuable that kid is now. Like what he's
Yeah.
learned, the experience he's gained, the notoriety he's gained by saying, yo, I helped Gary Vee in this case. Dude, he did that
Mhm.
all from just serving. Like, how can I add value to you? Like, what can I do to use my resources to add value to you? And that's one of the things that I would encourage people to do is, obviously be bold enough to reach out, but you want to be a giver, not a taker.
Mhm.
Most people take, they ask, they're always like, hey, Ashley, like buy this, do this, be this, like go here. Like they're asking you, they're taking from you versus
Mhm.
like, yo, what can I do to add value to you? What can I do to serve you? Like, what can I do to make your life easier? One of the great leadership questions, and this is a great question as a leader to ask your people, but it's the same type of philosophy to ask, someone who's a leader above you, if you will, kind of further along the road than you are. But it's like, what roadblocks can I remove for you today? Like, I'll call my team and I'll say,
Mhm.
I'll like send them a voice message. Hey, Ashley, I'm thinking of you. Just say we're working together in this example. Say, Ashley, I'm thinking of you today. Appreciate all you do. I say, hey, Ashley, what roadblocks can I remove for you today? Like, what can I do to make your life easier? What can I do to make your life better? Like, how can I make you go faster? And a lot of times they're like, wow, thanks for reaching out. But then they can say, can you help me with this, issue or that issue or this question? That's what great leaders do is they add value to
Mhm.
other people. And
Mhm.
and if you add value, let me say this, Ash. So the word hero, like you want to be the hero to your children, the hero to your husband. Like we all want to be the hero in our marriages, in our families. We want to be the hero in our community. You be the hero in the with the hub. Like you're we're someone that people look to and say, she really inspired my life. She added value to me. Okay, cool. The word hero comes from the Latin root of the word servo, which means servant. So the greatest among us is not the king and the queen. The greatest among us is actually the servant because service to many leads to greatness. If you want to be the hero to your spouse or to your kids or to your business or to your community, then serve your family and your business and your community. Like in other words,
Mhm.
the servant is the true hero.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the mentality shift of no one owes you anything. You're not entitled. What can you do to add value? How can you show up and serve? What can you do to be a positive light? I'll give you one quick thing today, by the way.
Mhm.
What's interesting is when someone gets to your level, so like you're crushing it, right? You got an incredible business, the whole thing, great family, the whole thing. People don't think they should reach up and say, hey, I just want, like, in other words, send a positive message up meaning
Mhm.
to someone who's kind of further along the track than you are, let's say.
Yeah.
That's a great way today to just say to even your most successful friend, I just want you to know, I think, I respect you, admire you, and love you for these reasons. Maybe it's a teacher for you. Maybe it's a mentor, a business figure. Maybe it's someone in your community. Maybe it's someone on social media. But like, send them a DM today and be like, "Hey, look, just want you to know this," and just give them a sincere, genuine compliment. You don't know what the big ones are going through sometimes. Sometimes it's nice to hear some positive. They take a lot of crap, because
Mhm.
all your crap should flow up. All your issues should flow up. So they deal with a lot of fires all day long. It's nice every once in a while for someone to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, you don't know me. I just want you to know that love, respect, and admire you for these reasons." That's a great way today to start adding value to people.
Oh, that's so good. I think that sometimes we just, again, looking at people on a pedestal, we feel like when I get there, when I have the money, when I have the job, when I have the business, like all my problems will go away and things will get better. But you're right, like everybody is still human. So how can I serve and serve up? What an awesome way to collaborate. I think about like people ask me this too, like what made the hub successful? How did the hub take off? And I believe that it was the sense of community early on. Like there was no products, things were free. I showed up just by serving people for nothing, just showing up. And that's what built the sense of community. Now I know like you're in a number of different businesses and you lead a lot of teams. Like what do you think is the core to building community around a brand?
Again, I hate to piggyback, but you're so right on. Like it's it's having a clear vision. Like here's where we're going. Your vision will pull you through hard times. Like having a clear
Mhm.
vision. And then the second thing is like adding more value than anybody else, like serving at a higher level. People will
Mhm.
rally behind a vision, and then they'll rally behind like the service. The other thing I'd share with you is this: is expertise. Like there's some things you can only learn by experience. So it's expertise, like becoming good at what you do. There's no like that's one of the reasons you've succeeded is because you're like you become the best in the world at what you do. Well, like you paid the price to become that person, and that's the thing that I think as I look back at like my little career, like it wasn't it wasn't
You're,
always straight up, like my
did you
first
say
business failed.
little? I gotta just pause you. Did you say little career
Well,
for?
it's all relative, right, to the world. But it's like my first business failed. It left me below zero financially. But I was in credit card debt. I was in back on taxes. At one point, we moved my pregnant wife and our two kids into the loft of my wife's parents' garage. I'm working two part-time jobs, trying to like start another business, trying to like chase the dream of figuring this thing out. I kind of licking my wounds a little bit. I thought I'd be there for a couple weeks. It turned into be basically the entire 9 months of her pregnancy.
Mhm.
And since that time, I've gone on to build 4 different multi-million-dollar businesses, do $1 billion in sales, speak in 20 plus countries around the world, 1 million people a day on social media. Well, all of that came from like paying the price every single
Mhm.
day, like paying the price, showing up, being the thermostat, not the thermometer, right? The
Yeah.
thermostat sets the temperature, the thermometer reacts to it. So it's like I set the temperature of like, I'm going to show up with positivity today. I'm going to show up with energy. I'm going to show up with passion. I'm going to like put in the
Mhm.
grind. I'm going to go out and make it happen. Where the thermostat's like, I'm going to react to everybody else.
Mhm.
And I'm going to like if I'm having a bad day, you're going to know it. If I'm having a good day, you're going to know it. If I'm not making enough money, you're going to know it. Like I was just like, I'm just going to go out there with like a clear vision, and I'm going to really like rally people around where we're going, but I'm going to get good at what I do. And that's
Mhm.
part of what I would encourage, your people listening is like, become the best at what you do. And the best at what you do in your field can be the very best that you have. Because remember, all you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough.
Mm.
But become the best that you can be at that field. Like, how can you improve your customer experience? How can you improve your marketing? How can you improve the way you're showing up? How can you improve your frequency, like your vibration? Like when you're on an Instagram story, you're hot, like you're on fire, like you're vibrating. Like people are like, yo, I don't know what it is about you. I just like you. Like, what can you do to be the best that you can be?
Yeah.
And you strive for that. And people, it's magnetic. People like to be around people that are really like, going somewhere with their life and have a clear vision. It's magnetic, that kind of culture.
Oh, I have 10,000 questions. I want to like rabbit hole on that. But talk to me about this really quick before we go down like some of that strategy and how to be magnetic. You're a visionary in your business, right? You're leading by example, and these people are coming along with you. What's the best way to build culture among them so they're also tight with one another? We talk about community over competition a lot in the hub. And I think, I don't remember the exact story, but was it a story about like who killed the buffalo or something
Mm-hmm.
like that you talked
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Can you share that one?
yeah. So there's an old fable from one of the writers' named Aesop. It's one of Aesop's fables, and basically what happened is this: is there was 4 buffalo in the savannah in the African savannah, and there was lions that were hunting and trying to eat the buffalo. So what the buffalo would do is they would all stand back to back with each other. So no matter which kind of direction the lions would attack from, the lions would always get horns. But what happened to the buffalo is what happens to most of our teams, and it happens within our own cultures,
Mm-hmm.
is, the buffaloes got sick of each other. They're kind of like, I don't like how Brandon does this, and I don't like the strange clicking sound he has in his jaw when he chews his soup, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And they started complaining and blaming and being jealous and envious and fault finding, and just eventually the buffalo went to 4 different corners of the savannah, and one by one by one, the lions went and killed and ate the buffalo. So I say to people who, what killed the buffalo? People say the lions. I said, no, it was the culture that killed the cows. Like if the lions or if the buffalo would have stayed back to back with each other, there's nothing they couldn't have accomplished. But because they tore apart, they stopped tapping into the collective genius. They stopped forgetting the real goal of what we're trying to do. The real goal is not for Betty to like best Rhonda. The real goal is for the overall vision to move forward. So Ronald Reagan had a quote on his desk, a little plaque that said, there's no limit to the amount of good you can do if you don't care who gets the credit. And
Yes.
right now we have a documentary happening that Michael Jordan did a documentary, like a 10-part series. It's called The Last Dance. It's like for like a sports fan that grew up in that area, it's kind of like this nostalgic documentary. Well, the part of the theme of this is the GM, the general manager for the Bulls during this, they won 3 in a row. Then Jordan went and played baseball for 2 years, and then they came back and won 3 in a row again, which is totally unprecedented. And the GM was a guy named Jerry Krause. They said that Jerry Krause put the team together. So think of this, Ash. He's the one that like got this player, this free agent, made this trade, brought this coach in. So he did critically important work. But yet they said there wasn't enough credit to go around for Jerry, meaning he couldn't give Jordan credit. Like Jerry Krause was the one that said that teams don't win, players don't win championships, organizations do, because he wanted the credit. Like, yo, I'm part of the organization if I want to put this together. Now, here's the truth. The truth is all of those pieces were necessary, right? You had to have the players, had to have the coaches, had to make the trades. But then you also had to have Michael freaking Jordan on the court, like busting everybody up every night, right? You had to have both. The point is this, though, is if it's credit can ruin cultures. Like people think that they're not getting enough credit or they need more credit. I just laid my credit at the altar. I was just like, look, I want the idea to win. I don't care if I get any credit. I just want the idea to be successful. If the idea is winning, then I want that. Now I'll share one last quick example. So Steve Jobs was only on the front page of Apple.com one time. Remember, he was Times Man of the Year. I mean, the iPod, the iPad, the iMac. I mean, the guy changed the world, right? The iPhone, he was only there one time, and it's when he died. And if you remember, Ash, it was what they did, like the Apple logo, but they had Steve's face in the Apple logo, basically.
Yeah.
And there was only one time he was there, and it's when he died. And the point that I'm saying is, although he was probably maniacal and egotistical and all that stuff, he also let the idea be bigger than the person. He gave credit to the ultimate idea, which was Apple. Apple was changing the world. Apple made you think different, not Steve made you think different. He didn't have to own all that credit. Mm-hmm. And that is so important as we get into these teams, that we all just lay our credit on the altar and say, look, we want the idea. There's clarity in the idea of where we're all headed. And that's what we all lean into.
That's so powerful. So powerful. I think about, being a business owner, and the one thing that most business owners agree on that is the most surprising as they get into it is how challenging it is to grow and maintain a great team. It's not like we're not trained in leadership, like real leadership, just like what you're talking about from an early age. So you kind of have to have those hard knocks and learn some of those lessons about culture and credit and letting the idea win. What other advice would you share with someone who's a new business owner, or maybe they're not a new business owner, but they're new to having and building a team, on how to continually build the right culture and motivate everyone on that team?
So I have two kind of quick thoughts. One is clarity. We talked a little bit about this, but not only clarity on the idea, not only clarity on the vision, but like clarity and expectations. Like there's gaps there. It's what I call expectation gaps. This is where all the frustration lies. So I'll give you an example. If you and Eric, if you expect on a scale of 1 to 10, you expect an 8, Eric delivers a 5 because that's what he thought you expected. The gap between 5 to 8, all the frustration, all the stress, all the like angst, it lies in the gaps. So the way you close the gaps is through clarity in expectations, like clarity in communication. Like, hey, Ash, I actually expect a 6. And you go, oh, cool. Well, here's what my 6 looks like. And I go, okay, great. Once you deliver a 6 and I expect a 6, boom, we're set, right? There's no gap. So helping people to become clear on the expectations of what they are supposed to be doing, what you need them to do, like having that clarity, I think can create a lot of harmony. The other thing is this, and this is so interesting because I swear to you, as like a society, we're like worse and worse and worse at this like every single year. And that is having tough conversations.
Yeah.
Like we all freaking hide behind our phones now. People get all passive aggressive on social media. Like they won't say it to you, but they'll like, we all have total keyboard courage. Like, and then they like say this thing that we all know is a dig at, they're all digging Brenda right now, but yet they won't say it. And then they won't say anything to it. Like, come on guys, like freaking, we got to grow up, look someone in the eye, sit down with them and say, hey, look, here's why I'm hurt. Here's what's going on. And learning how to have those tough conversations is one of the best ways to build culture. And one other quick thing I want to share with you on culture is this. So people sometimes will say like the culture just sucks here, or the culture got away from us, or the culture blah, 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 blah. Like I can't stand the culture. Okay. So do we know what the culture is? The culture is us. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the way we treat each other is the culture. The way we choose to respond to issues is the culture. The way that we choose to show up and treat each other with respect and dignity and all that, that's the culture is us. The culture is how we all act. So
Mhm.
when someone's like, the culture sucks, it's like, well, that's probably because you suck, because you're the culture. Like you say, yeah, but I wouldn't suck if so and so wouldn't have been mean to me. It's like, look, the way that you're responding to the way that they treated you is the culture. You're setting it right now as we speak. So we
Yeah.
all have to own it a little bit as a team. Like, guys, what culture do we all want? Like, how do we all want to operate with each other? How do we all want to treat each other? Because we are the culture. It's not this arbitrary thing that's out there somewhere. It's
Yeah.
us. Like, we're the culture.
Oh man, culture is so contagious. Yeah, you've got to be so aware of it. It kind of wraps back to I wanted to talk about you and just like social media and being like the high vibe person in the room. Talk to me more about how do you take that culture and ignite it into your social media? Like you reach over 1 million people on social media every day. Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah.
How do you show up for them? Like what is the strategy behind how you're showing up on social media in that way?
I have really 3 quick tips on that. The first thing I'd share with you is this. I just set the intention. I just like, look, I'm going to do my very best to add value. It goes back to kind of what we talked about earlier. Like, can I
Yeah.
add value? Can I serve? Set the intention. I was very consistent. It wasn't like Monday I posted and like 6 weeks later I posted again. And then Wednesday I posted and then 3 months
Yeah.
later, I was just like, dude, I'm just going to show up and do my very best to add value. And by the way, my very first post got no likes and 1 comment. It was the comment was my neighbor making fun of my post. So I was not off to a great start. My first videos were just completely brutal, but I still kept showing up consistently. Kind of got
Mhm.
past the imposter syndrome, kind of got past the like, you're in one day out the next week. Like I just consistently, intentionally showed up. So that's the first thing. Second thing I'd say is this. I would encourage you to create a content calendar. So I'll give you a quick example. Ash, and if you and I sat down, I'd grid this out for you. Like, let's say I'm sitting down with you and obviously you crush hard, but let's just say that you're brand new to it, right? So I'd say, give me maybe 6 words that define your brand. So I'm going to share this with you from afar, right? Family, business, entrepreneurship, fashion, faith, maybe horses or something like that. Maybe in other words, some of these, like these are things just off the top of my mind, like would be things that as I look at you, these are things that kind of define your brand. And you might even have, maybe either agree or disagree on some of these, and maybe you would have some more, right? So we'd
Mhm.
kind of define your brand. And the brand that you're looking to portray, meaning like, hey, I'm a business owner. Okay, let's do that. I'm also a mom. Like I'm a wife. Like in other words, I run a family. Cool. Let's portray that. Like let's detail this out a little bit. And then the next thing is we'd create a grid where it's like, okay, so imagine going down on the left hand of the grid is the words that define your brand, the categories that define your brand. Then going across from left to right would be give a tip, give some motivation, give a challenge, and share an insight, share 3 steps that would help them. So I'll give you an example. So watch this. I'll literally do this to you, but you can do it in your head here real quick. So I'll give this example. If I said to you, how do you run a home as a mom and like pour into your kids and then also still run a business? Like share with me, like maybe 3 tips come to mind. Well, dude, you could think of those 3
Mhm.
tips. You'd be like, well,
Yeah.
what I try and do is, and I try and do this. Well, dude, that's family. And then we go over to 3 tips. That's that day. So like I have every single day done. Every single day is already done for like the next 7 or 8 months. Like every single day, every post, every day is already finished for the next 7 or 8 months because I've set out and I created a content calendar. So I didn't have to be at like 8 o'clock at night being like, oh crap, dude. Oh my gosh. I've been busy all day. Like, oh crap, I need to post something. It's just I've thought
Mhm.
through it and I've gotten ahead of it. So it's just like
Yeah.
not this huge pressure for me every 10 seconds, And
Yeah.
obviously also post throughout the week on things that I'm thinking or whatever, but the overall flow is finished. So that's the first thing. Create a content calendar, theme your days. And so it helps you to get a little bit more organized and showing up with more intention. And then the other thing that I would share is this. I would encourage you to leverage a team. And here's what I mean by that more specifically. Like go do like yesterday, Ash, if you had been with me, I went and did a photo shoot / a bunch of video yesterday. I took, I think, 3 hours, and I have a gal that does photography. I have a guy that does video. Like, boom, we did it together. Brought a bunch of different outfits, so it looks like they're different days, and kind of that whole thing. And you might say, well, dude, I can't afford a photographer right now. Okay, that's fine. Go take your 16-year-old child, have them take pictures. Go take your husband, go take your boyfriend, like go take your girlfriend, like go take somebody with you that can take some videos or take some pictures for you, that you can now have this kind of this repository of stuff, right? You bring a couple different outfits, smile in one and look serious in the other, like, kind of mix it up a little bit, but now you have some stuff to post. But hire a team, like find a team, leverage a team. I'm not great at editing video all day long. I don't want to edit video all day long. So I have a video guy, and you can find this stuff in your local community. Like you can find ways to make you look like you're pretty awesome, meaning your brand is growing and so on. You can find people that are helping you build a logo or edit video or with your copy or meaning like your blog and so on. Guys, there's websites that you can find people. There's people in your local communities you can find there. You can get smart and leverage your time to where it doesn't feel so overwhelming because it's not you doing every single last piece of everything. Now, with all that said, here's what I want to share with you, which is the most important thing about a personal brand. Your personal brand is not your picture. It's not your logo. It's not the colors. It's not the font. It's not the Instagram stories you do. Your personal brand is how you make people feel. Like when they're done with your content, how did you make people feel? When you show up daily, consistently, like, are you leaving them feeling like, I feel better about myself, worse about myself, angry, happy, grateful, ticked, like how are you making people feel? That's your personal brand. That is your business card, is how do I affect people? How do I make them feel? And heartmath.org said that the emotions that we have in our bodies, they go into every cell of our body and then they emanate out 10 feet out around from us. I don't know if you've ever been around somebody. They didn't even say anything to you, but you're just like, yo, I don't know what to do with that lady, but she's like on one today. Or you're like, I don't know what it is with her, but I don't know. There's like something about her. She's just magnetic. Well, you are affecting people. Like we're either vitamin C or we're a germ. We affect people. We rub off on each other. Yeah. And so you can even do that through your social media. Like, are you positively affecting people? Are you adding value? Are you giving some tips and some tactical and some motivation and making them laugh? And, like, are you doing some things where each day they're like, man, I like me best when I'm with you?
Oh man, that's so good. It's so true. And everyone I know right now can think of 3 to 5 people that make them feel that way. Do you ever feel like people get too one-dimensional? Like, I own a business. So let's say my business is I'm a boutique owner. And so I post about my boutique, but I don't know how to post about personal things, motivating things, inspiring things, like whatever my 6 key pieces are. Like, as I think about you, Justin, and your brand, you do all kinds of things. We haven't even talked specifically about what your businesses even are, but just knowing you, like when I first met you, I was like, man, what's this guy do? Because he's always motivating, he's always inspiring, but like we can have all these great unique pieces. And I think specifically boutiques just fall in the trap of, I'm a boutique owner, I don't know how to create this other content for a /personal brand with my boutique. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Here's what just some quick insights. The most important thing is finding things that you're passionate about talking about, right? So you're not like, oh my gosh, I don't want to post about that again. I could care less. But I'll share it with you guys this way. It's like you as you're thinking about, okay, what else could I talk about? Here's the question I would encourage you to ask. What problems can you solve? Like I tell people, don't talk to your audience, talk to your friend. Because sometimes an audience seems like this, like arbitrary, like I just put it out there, like boom, like out in the solar system somewhere. Like, no, like talk to your friend. Like, what are the 5, name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that your friend's biggest stresses. By the way, right now, think literally of a friend of yours. So like Ash, think of a literal friend of yours. You can pick whoever you want. Think of a friend. What are the 5 things, if you would have had to like think of 1 or 2 or 3 that stress her out, like pressures that she's feeling right now. Maybe it's credit card debt. Maybe it's like, yo, how do I build this team? Like I've got my little business going and I need to expand my team. Maybe for her, it's like, how do I keep my marriage on point, even though I'm really ambitious in my business? Or somewhere you start thinking through, like, what is she thinking about right now? What's some stresses for her? Another question you ask is, what are 5 goals or dreams or things she'd like to accomplish? You say she would really love to take her kids to Disneyland. She's always wanted to, but she's never, they just haven't had the chance yet. Or She right now, she really wants to make sure she's doing a good job with homeschooling because she just doesn't want to, she feels a lot of pressure to make sure she's really delivering, thinking of some good ideas. Okay. Well, now that you know this kind of stuff, look in the camera, and like talk to your friend and like be like, hey, sister, here's what I want you to do. Here's what you should do with your marriage. Here's 3 tips that really helped me when I was first launching my business and I was a little out of balance because my business was taking so much of my time. I did this. I, communicated clearly. We did a date night. Anyway, that's content that's not about your freaking boutique, but you're adding value. You're attracting more people. You're leading people better than you found them. Like you're sharing insights and you're talking about a whole new subject. So that's a one way to do it is solve problems, ask questions, and then ask and answer questions. Remember, if you upgrade the quality of your questions, you upgrade the quality of your life. Questions are so important. And what's interesting about our brains is our brains cannot not answer a question.
Yeah.
So for example, if I say to you, are you tall or short, fast or slow? Would you rather read a book or travel or, go to a movie? Would you rather travel or stay home? Everyone listening, our brains answered every single question I just asked. It's just the way that our brains are wired. So you start asking better questions. How can I serve my friend? How can I add value to my friend? And then it's like this unlimited supply of content. You just have to get over that feeling of like who am I? Kind of like the imposter syndrome of like, who am I? I don't know. I'm not a marriage expert. Listen, you don't have to be a marriage expert, but share with us what you did to strengthen your relationship, even though your relationship's not perfect. I get it. But what did you do to strengthen it when you were having some of these similar struggles?
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. Especially, I had this conversation with boutiques even through COVID, where I think that was like a true turning point of small business owners, especially not just boutiques, but everybody realizing I just have to show up and relate. I have to show up and serve. Like money will follow eyeballs, but if I serve first, like the business will come along with the content. But asking questions is absolutely central to that. It's so, so good. As you talk about family and marriage, I want to shift to that for a second because I'm thinking back to when we first met in that hallway. One of the first things you said to Eric and I was, I'm a family man. And I was like, whoa, who is this guy? Like, I love how bold you are that you will just say that because it's not common today, right? So talk to me about being a family man and what that means to you and a little bit about your parenting style because your family's got a lot going on. You're busy.
So my first thought is that no success that I have outside of my home will compensate for failure that I have inside my home. So if I were to list out my priorities in my life, my marriage and my kids and the impact I'm having as a father and as a husband, like my family, it's like my number 1 priority by 100. Like number 2 is way far down below. I was in Japan once, and I spoke for like 10,000 people in the Ariake Coliseum, and after we had this like VIP dinner. And one of them, they call you Justin Son. Son means almost like Mr. Like Justin, like Mr. Justin, basically. They go, Justin Son, Justin Son. I said, yeah. And they go, is it love or money? Love or money? And what they were saying, I asked an interpreter, like, what does that mean? And they go, what's more important, business, which is money, or love, which is family? That's the way they were trying to ask the question. What's more important, business or family? And I said, oh, bro, and that's obviously this is being interpreted back to Japanese, but I'm like, bro, it's not even close. I go, love, 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 easy, easy. And so for me, that's just such an important thing. It's just it's foundational to who I am, what's important to me. And then and now check this out, Ash. I'm super ambitious. Like we just did $1 billion in sales. I'm in our first 5 years in business. I'm like trying to drive our business to where we're doing $1 billion per year in sales, not $1 billion in 5 years. Like I'm like, let's go. Like I'm like super, super ambitious too. So you say, well, how do you balance both? The first thing is priorities, right? It's clarity in your priorities. Like I know that family's first. The second thing is communication. We talked about the communication gaps that can drive. But one really good tip that I think can really help all of your boutique owners is this. It's what I call enlist your family. So you enlist them in the business. I'll give you guys an example. I literally, no kidding, I did this. I've done this multiple times, by the way, when I knew I had to really go hard at the business. I would sit down with my wife first. I'd be like, sweetheart, look, here's the thing. This is happening. And she and I would clearly communicate to where she knew that I was going to be jamming a little harder right now. Like my focus was going to be a little bit more in the business. So number one, she knew that she could pick up our communication was on point where she would pick up her, almost pick up for me, like pick up the slack that I was providing in the family. But then we would sit down with the kids and be like, hey guys, Daddy's got to crank, like, here we go. I got the next 3 months, I got to really jam, whatever the time frame was. But then, Ash, here's what an enlist means. Not only do you sit down and clearly communicate, but I'd say once Dad hits this goal, we're going to ice cream. Once Dad hits this goal, we're going to go to the park. No phones, dude. Just me and you. We're going to go jam at the park, play basketball, ride bikes, whatever it is. Once Dad hits this goal, we're going to on the trip. In other words, and I don't want to stress anybody out where you think you have to go on vacations for every goal, but it's like you just set little goals. Like Mama's taking you on a walk today. So you say, sweetheart, here's what I did. I need you to give Mom 1 hour. And the kids know this going in. I need from 2 to 3. Mom's got to work. I got to really focus. At 3 o'clock, though, I'm putting my phone away. And by the way, moms and dads, keep your promises, right? Even though you still got work to do, keep your promises. 3 o'clock, you go on the walk. You let them ride their bike. You're on the walk. You're totally attentive, totally focused. I got to a point where my kids would be like, yo, Dad, you got your 5 customers yet? Or whatever the goal was. Do you got this yet? And I go, no, I'm almost there. And they're like, Dad, let's go, dude. Like we want to go to ice cream, or we want to win the goal. Like, come on, dude, get to work. So instead of them resenting me and resenting the work I was putting in and the level of intensity I was putting in, with our business, instead of them resenting it, they felt like it was their business. They're like cracking the whip harder. They're like, dude, let's go, dude. Like, get to work.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing with you guys, if you'll enlist your kids, enlist your spouse, where the business isn't your business, it's our business. It's their business together with you. It is so magical because remember, Mom and Dad, as you're listening, you're setting an example right now for these kids. Like you're setting the example that, hey, this is how what hard work looks like. This is what hustle means. This is what overcoming obstacles and challenges and adversity looks like. You're teaching right now. And so when they're enlisted, they're watching you succeed. They're watching you win. They're being inspired by you. And that's what I really encourage people to focus on.
Oh, what a good way to include them versus them feeling like they're separated or resentful of the business.
Yep.
So super important. Okay. I know we're crunching on time, but I'm going to keep going because this is so, so good. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's fine.
But let's talk about your health for a minute. So if anyone's seen you in person, like you're ripped, man, you're ripped.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Dude,
You're welcome.
I'm like trying to fight dad bod one day at a time, dude. I don't know about ripped.
You're inspiring my COVID-15. Thank you very much.
Seriously.
Talk to me about health, because your company is in the health and wellness space.
Yeah.
And I think because this opportunity, I'm going to call the pandemic an opportunity, has happened for us and not to us. I think there's a lot of things that we've learned from this and will continue to learn. I think health and wellness are going to change after this. Talk to me about some like the fundamentals of how you view health and wellness as an entrepreneur. But I honestly talk about the company and talk about some of the products you guys have as well, because I think that's super important to know, like, where can people turn for a resource and how to take better care of themselves?
Well, let's start first with like the mindset. Here's what I'd share with you guys. You want to work out more for your biceps or more for your brain than your biceps. When you work out consistently, like, Ash, we both met, were in Brendon Burchard's mastermind, right? Mm-hmm. Brendon wrote a book called High Performance Habits. It's the biggest study of high performers in the history of humanity. One of the things they found about high performers is that they're 46% more likely to have a consistent and regular exercise routine. So high performers don't accidentally work out. High performers like have routines, they have plans. And I'm not trying to say they're all bodybuilders. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they consistently go for a walk. They consistently do their stretching. They consistently lift some weight. They consistently do whatever it is to be active because of what it does for you emotionally and mentally. Remember, as a business owner, dude, it's a high stress game. This is not for everybody. Like, it's a high stress game where like all the weight ultimately is falling on your shoulders, and like, are we winning? Are we losing? Like, when stress and pressure happen, people call you, they're not calling someone else. They call you. You're like, what stops with you? Well, you need to create time, build time, intentional time for you to have that stress release. So like today, my son and I still talk about being quarantined, right? We have a little tiny workout room in our basement, like a little squat rack and some kettlebells and a few dumbbells and whatever. So it's just kind of a small little thing. But so today we did squats. We did 10 sets of 10 on squats, right? And I have a stretching routine, like a little yoga routine. But by the way, watching me do yoga is like watching a sea lion on like a pier. It's just not that great. And so I do my little yoga for 10 minutes, and then I have some functional stretches that I do, and that kind of warms me up. And I've learned that over time because I'm getting to that age where like I have like the lower back pain and the hamstrings are tight and all that kind of stuff. And so I do my little functional thing, kind of gets me in my little zone. And then I go hit my little weight routine for a second, the best I can. I track my macros. So my eating's on point. I'm intentional. Most people, Ash, they live a life of reaction and distraction. Mm-hmm. Their entire life, they're reacting to the distractions of everybody else versus people who live a life of intentional creation, where they're intentionally creating. So like, I know how many calories I ate yesterday. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you like, well, I'm not like, because I'm intentional about it. Like, I'm not like hoping it all pans out. Like, I'm intentional about it. Same with working out. So I just would encourage you guys for if you're a high performer, which all of you are, and that's all of our goal is to perform at a higher level, exercise has to be part of it. Now with our business, we've tried to created a lifestyle brand that makes it even easier for people to do it. So I'll give you a quick example. We launched a product a couple of years ago in 2018. It was the best weight loss supplement of the year. This stuff's almost like unfair. It's called Trim. It's like a chocolate pudding. We have a couple of flavors, but the chocolate tastes like chocolate pudding. It's like the consistency of pudding. And it has a clinical dose of what's called CLA. So CLA is what builds lean muscle and inhibits fat storage, basically burns visceral fat. So imagine this, you take a spoonful of this chocolate pudding stuff and it's building lean muscle, burning fat. So it's changing your body composition. And then it also has collagen and hyaluronic acid. So collagen is the protein that holds us together. Like we're made of collagen, our hair, bone, skin, nails, we're made of collagen. And then hyaluronic acid is what gives us moisture. So if you think of like a little baby, they have those cute puffy cheeks that are so cute. And then if you think of an elderly person, we have less, their skin has wrinkled and sagged. It's because we produce less collagen, less hyaluronic acid as we age. So this product actually, not only are you getting the CLA, which builds lean muscle, burns belly fat, but you're also getting collagen and hyaluronic acid. And the second top selling product we have is called Liquid BioCell, which is literally pure collagen, pure hyaluronic acid. Like, so for your joints, for your literally your inside out anti-aging, we have 7 international patents, 37 human clinicals on this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so the human clinical said that it helps to synthesize. What that means is it turns on the production of collagen up to 6,000% over a 90-day period. So those products kind of lead to a broad range we have of non-toxic, healthy products. So it helps people to live kind of we call it live clean. It's this idea of like switching up products you're already using for safe, effective, and affordable non-toxic products. So it's just kind of created like a lifestyle brand. We market all online. And we've created, kind of a cool little community and business doing it, and been able to really serve people at a high level with both our products, and then also our community, and add value to people through our community. So, again, exercise. It used to be that the jolly old fat man was the like the Santa Claus jolly old fat man was the rich man. If you think back to like the 1920s, the 1930s, it was the jolly old fat man was the rich guy. Like the Monopoly guy, Yeah. Dude, that's not it anymore. Now you have like the Richard Bransons and those types of guys that they're in good shape, dude. They're lively. Like Elon Musk I'm not saying he's a bodybuilder, but he's a healthy dude. Like, yeah, that's the new world we live in, is the true wealth. And I try and remind all of us, we're not doing all this stuff so we can have more paper with dead presidents' faces on it. We're doing all this stuff because of the way we want to, the way we think it's going to help us to feel. Yeah. And to feel lethargic, and to feel like, when you bend over, you're like, oh, I got to like pull my belt over my waist. Like like, we want to feel optimal and energized and vibrant and alive. And we want to be able to run around with our kids and be able to run up the stairs and not feel like we have to like stop for a second, be out of breath. Like, we want to feel like we have some vibrancy to our life, because remember, the true wealth is our health. It's like, do I enjoy this body that I have? Like, am I vibrant and alive? And if the answer is no, that's something I'd encourage everyone to get super, super intentional on.
Oh man. Every time I talk to you, it's so inspiring because you feed my brain, you motivate me. Like, we talk about business strategy, but to tie like health and wellness and, something I honestly a lot of times have felt intimidated about was like, what do I take for supplements? How do I get more energy? Like, what do I really need to be feeding myself at this age? You always have the answer for that. And I appreciate that so much about you, that it's so well-rounded. So thank you for sharing all of that. Seriously, very, very helpful.
You're very, so sweet. I need to hang out with you more often, all these nice things.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
You're
Pay
gonna
me
be
20
you're
bucks
gonna be a keynote at my funeral, dude, if you keep this up.
later. Right. Oh my gosh. Well, for anyone who's listening, if you want to learn more about that too, we'll drop some links for you guys in the show notes so you can check out some of those products that you mentioned, and learn more about your business as well. Really quick, we'll do a lightning round. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite book?
Oh my gosh. Here's the honest answer. I have so many for different phases of my life. Like I have books that if I wouldn't have read at that phase, that changed my whole life at that phase. So some quick ones would be like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Richest Man in Babylon, Unlimited, Awaken the Giant Within, Think and Grow Rich, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. These were little times of my life where those books had huge, huge, huge impact.
Oh, those are all good ones. We'll put all those in the show notes and link them up for you as well. Favorite podcast?
I honestly think it's freaking Joe Rogan. And here's the thing. He talks and I talk, like, in other words, his language is probably different than mine. But I found even during this whole pandemic time that I trust some of the information I'm getting there versus the news. I'm so disappointed in our news. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you can have just like an open dialogue and just like actually, again, the language probably isn't my style. Some of the content's maybe not my thing, but the openness of the dialogue, I think, is actually really, really healthy. I think it's good for people to have healthy dialogue.
You know, he's one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram for that very reason. I think that's so, so cool. Okay, I'm going to ask you favorite mentor, but I know you probably can't narrow it down to one because you work with some pretty awesome ones. But let's say favorite group of mentors.
So I've done a lot of work with John Maxwell. John C. Maxwell is a famous kind of like leadership author. And I've seen John, like I've been in his home, had dinner with him. I've traveled around in different countries with him. So like, in other words, I've seen him not just like on a stage. And I think John's a pretty awesome dude. Like, I think he's actually better probably than you would hope he would be, meaning it's not just theory or fluff or what you read from a book. He's probably better in person and better behind the scenes than he is, in front of the scenes. And again, to your point, I've had many different mentors. I mean, right now, Timlin Fertitta, we talked about that. I never even met the guy. And I feel like he's a mentor to me. I'm trying to get into his brain. If I had 50 million cash, would I chill out or would I try and get to 500 million? And then in his case, get to 5 billion? Like, that's a unique brain that doesn't ever let off the gas your whole life. So you can learn a lot from people like that as well. So I have kind of a long list, but right now I'd tell you, I think John's definitely made a big impact in my life.
That says a lot when someone is even better behind the scenes than they are on the stage. And I know what an impact he's had on your oldest son too, which I think is super cool.
Huge impact on my son. Huge, really, really touching, cool. I'd almost say like sacred moments. I'll share this with you just real quick. I know we're in lightning round, so I'll make this fast. But like so John called my son when we were in Beverly Hills. We were at the Paramount Studios on the lot, and he called my son and he did this whole thing. I posted on YouTube. It was really cool. This really touching call. He's like, Isaac, anyone that's as young as you, that wakes up as early as you do, and he's like, I wanted to have a chance to meet. So anyway, he actually met my son. John came here and did a podcast in Salt Lake, and I took my son, and we were there with him. So he meets my son and knew right who he was. He grabs the back of his neck because John's actually a former Christian pastor. That's actually where he came from before he became kind of a leadership guy. Grabs the back of my son's neck and like prays over this kid, like prays over this 15-year-old kid. And it was just such a touching moment. I'm telling you, like when John Maxwell dies, and sometimes people are bigger in death than they are in life. He's sold 30 million copies, 100 plus books, whatever. When he dies, that will be something my son will look back for the rest of his life and be like, dude, when I was 15 years old, this like thought leader, business legend met me and like prayed over me and like blessed that I would have, grace and in favor in my life. Like, how cool is that? It was, by the way, totally impromptu. It wasn't like posed and for the camera or whatever. It was just their kind of moment together. It was pretty cool.
So cool. So cool. And I look for, I think about like the next generation, who's going to lead the next generation. And I think about your son and how into just like leadership development and mindset and the things that he's into at this young of an age. That makes me really optimistic about the future. I hope more kids learn that message younger and younger going forward.
I completely agree. I hope that we set a good pace in our kind of generation. Mm-hmm. But these kids, you and I grew up without phones, dude. Like we grew up without social media. Like this new world's growing up. This is all they've ever known. And so I'm hoping that some of these new young leaders will arise and teach some of those old school principles, dude. Like,
Yep.
rid out entitlement, teach hard work, teach patience, teach kindness, teach respect, and teach some of these kind of old school things that, a little bit of our culture, a little bit of our society is getting away from.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, Justin, last question. And this is really like, as I think about business as a whole and this show and everything that we do every day, obviously goes far beyond building a business, making money, selling a widget, whatever society tells us we're in business for, right? It's the exact opposite. It's deeper than that and more meaningful than that. So I just want to ask you about your life 30 years from now. And you're sitting on the front porch with Missy, and you've got kids and grandkids at this point, and they're sitting on your lap and they're asking you about this life that you lived, right? You've traveled the world. You've seen things that so many people will never see. You've built amazing businesses, multiple. What is the thing that you want them to say about you at that point? What's the thing you want them to remember the most about what you created and how you lived?
I would say this. I would want them to be proud of the legacy that I left. And the legacy to me is two words. It's what and how. What and how is, what did you accomplish with the gifts and talents you were given? Like, because remember, we're all given different gifts, different talents. So did you maximize or, if you will, magnify, or did you turn those into what you're supposed to turn them into? Did you do something with what you were given? And then the second question is how. Mm-hmm. It's how did you go about doing it? Did you tear people down, or did you lift them? Did you build them up? Did you inspire people, or did you belittle people? How did you go about doing it? Did you step on them, or did you pull them up? And so that's kind of I'm hoping that they'll say, grandpa or whatever, you magnify the gifts and talents you were given. You did something with your life. You weren't lazy. You made something of yourself. And just as importantly, you did it in a way that you left people better than you found them. They were better because they were around you. They liked themselves best when they were with you. If I did it in a way that actually served people, then I think that's probably all you can ask, is that you magnify, the gifts you have, and you do it in a way that adds value to people.
Love it. Love it. Justin, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. So many takeaways. I know you guys have a page of notes. I have 2 pages of notes just chatting with you. So thanks for being so inspiring, being a true servant leader, and just, for blessing our life, for showing up for Eric and I in a really cool way. We really, really appreciate our friendship.
Love you guys. I respect you. I don't know, just kindred souls, right? I just respect you guys. I think you're world-class people. So I want to do things that make a difference in the world with people who make a difference, working on projects that make a difference. And that's why I love you guys.
Hey guys, I hope you absolutely loved this week's episode with my friend Justin Prince. If you would love more behind the scenes conversations and an opportunity to learn from not only myself, but our entire team at the Boutique Hub and our community of thousands of boutique owners around the world, guys, I hope that you have joined us as a member inside of the Boutique Hub. I know a lot of you come and listen to the podcast, and this is where you get your feet wet with information from your boutique, but I am telling you, there is a whole nother world that awaits you inside of the Boutique Hub. So for an opportunity to be a part of our awesome community with over 8 tailored and niched Facebook groups just for you, the very first boutique inventory exchange ever on Facebook and the highest vetted to this day, also an opportunity to shop over 600 wholesale brands inside of the Boutique Hub, and perks, discounts on wholesale shopping, discounts with companies like Comment Sold and dental and vision insurance, all the things that can help you save money and grow your operation every day inside of your business, all are waiting for you inside of the hub. So if you haven't yet joined us, please take a minute, click the button, join us as a member inside of the Boutique Hub, and I can't wait to see you guys inside. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope that you loved it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a rating and review down below for a chance to be one of our featured listeners each and every week. For more information on our spirit of community over competition and how to access complete show notes and bonus downloads from our guests, head on over to theboutiquehub.com and join the community. We'll see you next week.